So picture this. In the book of Revelation, there's this great city, codenamed Babylon, and it gets completely wiped out in a single hour. The world's elite, they're weeping over its destruction. But up in heaven, there's literally a command to celebrate. Today, we're going to dig into why one single cataclysmic event could spark two totally opposite reactions.
I mean, it's just a wild contrast, right? A whole metropolis is erased from the map. The kings and the merchants who got super rich from it are absolutely devastated, but then a voice from heaven commands the righteous to rejoice? This isn't just a difference of opinion, it's a fundamental clash of values. So, what gives? Okay, so to really get a handle on this, we've got to understand one crucial piece of context from our source material. In this specific interpretation, the symbolic city of Babylon isn't some future metropolis. No, it's 1st century Jerusalem right before it was destroyed by Rome in 70 AD. And that historical lens, well, it's the key that unlocks the meaning behind both the weeping and the rejoicing.
All right, so first up, let's look at this from the ground level. From an earthly perspective, the fall of this city is an absolute catastrophe. And it's not just profound grief, it's a massive economic shockwave that just ripples out across the known world.
So who's mourning first? The kings of the earth. You know, the big political powers who had these corrupt deals going on with the city. And they're not just sad, they're terrified. The text actually points out that they're standing afar off, just watching the smoke rise. You see, their grief isn't really for the city itself, it's for losing a powerful, profitable partner and the terrifying thought that, hey, they could be next.
And right after the politicians, the story shifts to the merchants, and their grief is, well, even more obvious. There's no fear of divine judgment here. This is all about the bottom line. The text is brutally honest about it. They weep because their entire customer base has just been erased. Simple as that.
And wow, what a market it was. This list reads like a catalog from some global luxury brand. Gold, pearls, silks, spices, you name it. But then, the list takes this really dark turn and ends with the most chilling item on the list: slaves and the souls of men. This isn't just about losing profits on fine linen, this is the total collapse of an economic system built on pure excess and human exploitation.
And that final cry from the merchants just sums up the sheer shock of it all. In 1 hour. Think about it. A city that stood for centuries, a symbol of power and permanence, is brought to absolutely nothing in an instant. It's the speed and the totality of the collapse that leaves the whole world stunned and weeping.
Okay, so while everyone on earth is losing their minds, up in heaven, the vibe is completely, and I mean shockingly different. There's no weeping, there's no grief, not at all.
And this isn't a suggestion. It's a direct command, not to mourn, but to rejoice. Heaven, the apostles, the prophets, they are all told to celebrate this destruction. It's such a jarring contrast, it just forces you to ask, why? Why on earth would heaven rejoice over something so horrific?
Well, here's the answer. From heaven's point of view, this isn't some tragedy. Nope, it's the final act of justice. God has avenged the prophets and saints who were persecuted and killed by this corrupt system. So the rejoicing isn't some sick glee over destruction, it's a celebration that a reign of absolute injustice has finally come to an end.
And to really hammer home just how final this judgment is, the vision uses this incredibly powerful and honestly violent symbol. So the vision gets even more intense here. A mighty angel lifts up a massive millstone. We're talking a stone that would take multiple animals just to turn, and hurls it into the sea. The image is just one of overwhelming power. Yeah, this is no gentle decline. This is a sudden, violent, final end.
I mean, think about it. You can't just go and fish a giant millstone out of the ocean. The symbolism here is just so clear, so absolute. This destruction is permanent and irreversible. The city, at least in its corrupt form, is gone for good. There's absolutely no coming back.
And what's really fascinating is how our source connects this prophetic vision to an actual historical account. The 1st century historian Josephus wrote that after Rome destroyed Jerusalem, the ground was scraped so bare that visitors literally couldn't believe a city had ever even been there. It's this haunting echo, right? The prophetic image and the historical record telling the exact same story of absolute desolation.
So, the last part of this vision, it describes the ultimate result of this fall. A profound, total silence. Just the complete end of every single aspect of human life.
The vision closes with this great silence. You know, the sound of harps, trumpets, any kind of celebration, just gone.
The sound of a craftsman's hammer, that daily hum of business, also gone.
And then, even the light from a single candle, the most basic sign of a home, poof, gone.
And then finally, the most personal, intimate sound of all, the voice of a bridegroom and a bride, the very promise of a future. That's gone too. Every sign of life, from the biggest public square to the smallest private home, is just extinguished.
And then, at the very end, the text gives us the final charge, the ultimate reason for all of this. Why the rejoicing in heaven? Why the violent fall? Why the great silence? Because in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints. And in the logic of this whole vision, that is the one crime that sealed its fate.
So here we are, right back where we started. From one perspective, an unthinkable tragedy. From another, a righteous act of justice. This whole passage really forces us to wrestle with a tough question. Is the fall of a corrupt system a disaster to be mourned or a cleansing to be celebrated? Well, I guess it really all depends on which side of justice you're standing on.